Hello, Scaredy Cats, it's me, Scaredy Matt. Around here, we like to be positive. You know me, I'm always being positive and saying how much I like movies, and never once have I ever criticized a movie or even discussed one's shortcomings, leaving that dirty work to other, lesser people. I'm known as the happy-go-lucky guy, easy to please, the guy who never has a nasty word to say about anyone or anything. And you know what really tickles my tummy? People seem to really have a hate-on for the film Freddy vs. Jason for some reason. A movie that I personally love, like all movies. And I saw it in theaters like 4 times. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it has some secret depth that most people aren't going to get, because it doesn't.
Check out this fucking guy.
Well, hey, Jethro, why don't you go find yourself a pig to fuck? Son of a bitch.
If you don't like it, you didn't miss anything. I'm not going to pretend like you're bad at watching movies, but perhaps you're bad at expecting things from movies if you expected anything but what this one was. Now let me step back here and explain what this movie is. Freddy vs. Jason is a movie about what if Freddy versus Jason. The last film in both the Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th franchises before each got rebooted to mixed success. The plot is pretty bare bones. Nobody's afraid of Freddy anymore because he keeps getting clowned on by teens, and one time by Heather Langenkamp, but the actress herself, not a character she was playing, but I don't think that one counts. So, Freddy manipulates Jason into killing teens for him so that people get afraid of Freddy again. But then Jason wants to keep killing teens and Freddy doesn't like that, so they have to fight. Freddy vs. Jason is by no means perfect. It does not belong on anyone's list of 100 movies you need to see before you die or anything like that. It is, however, as good as it could possibly be given what it is and when it was made. In that sense, I suppose, I am arguing that it is a perfect movie, at least as close to one as anyone could reasonably expect it to be. High art, this is not. You take two properties like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, themselves having been sequeled into oblivion, and in Friday's case, never really having been anything but a cash grab, and smush them together. I mean, that's only ever going to be a soulless film by committee, meaningless spectacle. So when I say that this movie is as good as it could be, please understand that what I'm most definitely not saying is that it's as good as any movie could be, that this is the height that all cinema should aspire to. What I think makes the movie work is that it's very silly. It's over the top in every way, just barely keeping its toes behind the line of self-parody. Freddy and Jason have a big kung fu fight, and there's a character who's basically just a rip-off of Jay from Jay and Silent Bob, and he smokes weed with Freddy, who looks like a big caterpillar. I guess to invoke Alice in Wonderland, like, you know how that book is famously associated with the drug weed. All of that leads to a great bit in the Never Sleep Again documentary, which I highly recommend, where they get Jason Mewes to reminisce about filming the movie, only for everyone to realize he wasn't in it. That's fun stuff.
I mean, it was amazing when they offered this and I went and I played Freeburg, and it was like a lifelong dream come... Wait.
One thing Freddy vs. Jason does not do is wink at the camera. The movie plays these very silly ideas 100% straight, never self-consciously feeling the need to let you know it's in on the joke. That's something that even the more comedy-heavy bits in each franchise before now couldn't pull off. To me, Freddy vs. Jason understands how to make these characters comedic a bit better than something like Jason X. In Jason X, the humor comes from breaking the fourth wall and explicitly making fun of series tropes.
Hey, you want a beer?
Or do you want to smoke some pot?
Or we can have premarital sex.
Freddy vs. Jason has a bit more faith in the audience, is a sentence no one should ever have to say. It shows Freddy and Jason doing kung fu against each other and trusts that you'll know that's meant to be funny. It allows itself to be goofy and fun rather than simply pointing out that other movies in the franchise have been goofy and fun in the past pointing and laughing. And it seems like that strategy backfired a little because, boy howdy, do people not like the big kung fu brawl at the end. And you're welcome to your opinion. I certainly can't give you a concrete justification for why I think that scene is good, actually. But if you see Freddy Krueger doing a flying elbow drop on Jason Voorhees, and it's anything but exactly what you wanted to see at that moment, then you and I have fundamentally different outlooks on the world. It is as though someone said to me, I hate the feeling of laughter. I understand the words you're saying, but I cannot comprehend them. I refuse to comprehend them. And like, how else is this movie gonna end? With a subdued, understated fight? Would that really satisfy anyone? Perhaps with no fight? That wouldn't be Freddy versus Jason. That would be Freddy and Jason. What, are they gonna have a battle of wits? Should their ideologies come into conflict? Should Jason come to realize that Freddy is a dark mirror of himself, and only through acknowledging that begin to heal and change? If this movie, with this premise, is going to exist, I submit to you that it would be a grave sin against the nature of the divine wellspring of creativity from whence our ideas flow to end it any other way than having these two famous monsters duke it out in an absurdly physical brawl. So they gotta have a fist fight, and it has to be over the top with goofy wrestling moves and Mortal Kombat fatalities. That's just how this story ends. And given that it came out in 2003, you have to add some shitty nu metal on top just to seal the deal. You have to. It is the law. And boy howdy, does it deliver on exactly that. Some people say that this movie doesn't capture the tone of the Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th movies. And like, no, not the good ones, but it gets the vibe of the bad ones fucking perfect. Well, Nightmare more than Friday, I guess, but the Friday movies couldn't really stick to a tone movie to movie. To me, love of both of these franchises oozes out of this movie. The setup for the story reminds me a lot of Peter Jackson's rejected proposal for Nightmare 6. In that one, Freddy's been beaten so many times that the children of Elm Street are no longer afraid of him. Without fear, Freddy's powerless, sometimes. So the kids take sleeping pills just to enter the dream world and mess with him, until one day, Freddy just barely manages to get a kill, setting off a wave of fear that restores his power. And aside from the kids intentionally messing with Freddy, that's beat for beat the setup for Freddy vs. Jason. But with a smarter twist, I think. Because in this one, the kids aren't dreaming about Freddy anymore, because the minute they do, they're put into an asylum and given the dream-suppressing drug Hypnosil from Nightmare Part 3. And I don't want to go into a whole thing, but I think this ties into the major themes of A Nightmare on Elm Street better than most of the sequels in that franchise do. Rather than confront their problems and deal with them, the adults of Springwood, yet again, choose to forget and let their children pay the price. Just like Nancy's parents in the original. The children of Elm Street are once again forced to take action to answer for the sins of the previous generations, who preferred to simply attempt to pretend that the problem does not exist by strictly controlling the lives of their children to the point of absurdity. Do I think they thought that through? Fuck no. But they definitely got the vibe. The vibe check was on point. Friday the 13th gets a shorter shrift, I think. Which is fair enough, despite having 4 more movies under its belt at this point if we don't count New Nightmare, which we probably wouldn't. That franchise doesn't have the type of lore that Nightmare built up. Friday the 13th movies are always a little lighter in the plot department. Originally, there were plans to have Jason's part-time nemesis Tommy Jarvis appear in this movie, played by friggin' Jason Bateman. Oh man, would I have loved to have seen that. There's also a lot of hubbub made about fan favorite Kane Hodder not being cast as Jason, which I agree is a misstep because Hodder is, of course, the definitive Jason actor and kind of the only one to really bring a lot to the character at all. It's worth pointing out, though, that Ken Kersinger, who played Jason in this movie, was Hodder's stunt double in Jason Takes Manhattan. And he was clearly passionate for the role, if nothing else, judging by how he spoke about it in interviews.
I was familiar enough with the character, you know, having worked on number 8 and stuff like that, that between Ronnie Yu's idea and my ideas, you know, we created the character together.
Also, the whole thing with Jason being afraid of water, that's a big thing people complain about. And look, I know that doesn't make sense. I know. He swam in previous movies. I've made fun of it in previous videos. He lives in lakes. That's his whole thing. I get it. But to me, this just carries on with the proud Friday the 13th tradition of doing whatever the hell you want to do in your movie and paying no regard to what came before or after. Now, I'm not some kook. I should mention that there's also plenty I don't care for in this film. I don't particularly like the main characters, who are all kind of bland, but also that's just the thing that's true of all of the Friday the 13th movies and most of the late Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I desperately hate the homophobic ad-lib that Kelly Rowland's character makes to taunt Freddy.
Tell me something. What kind of runs around in a Christmas sweater?
Oh boy, do I hate that. Oh boy, was it somebody's job to say, hey, Kelly, you want to take that scene again, but this time without the slurs, without the hate speech? Could we take it one more time, Kelly, without the hate speech, please? I dislike Jason's design in this movie a great deal. I don't know why they gave him a big jacket and the little wisps of hair falling over his mask. That looks goofy as hell. I hate that they ignored the tradition of including the slash mark on the upper left of his mask from the axe wound in part 3, but most of all, I hate how you can see his dopey eyes through the eye holes on the mask. I also find it really annoying that you don't get to see Jason without his mask as an adult. Come on, you gotta have that scene where his mask gets knocked off and you get to see how his face has gotten even gnarlier since the last time we've seen it. You gotta do that in every Friday the 13th movie. What are you doing? Conversely though, I do think they did an amazing job with Freddy's makeup, making him look like just a little more sinister. You know, his burns look a little less realistic than in some of the movies, but it looks good. I like the Freddy in this movie. Film is also pretty bloodless, and the kills are a little underwhelming, which, I mean, come on. You got two of the best killing guys. You're gonna throw two really good killing guys in a movie? You ought to have them do some sweet kills. There is that one where Jason crunches that guy into bed. That was pretty rad. But other than that, they're all pretty boring. But I came to this movie for one thing, to see Freddy Krueger meet Jason Voorhees and then see them fight or kiss. I feel like this movie could have just been phoned in. It was a silly cash grab regardless. Expectations were through the floor, but nonetheless, say what you will. The movie at least attempted to do the characters justice. It was a movie for the fans in the best and worst ways possible. Is it perfect? No. But in more important ways, yes, absolutely. Also, I saw it like the year I graduated high school with all my friends, and it brings back good memories for me. That might have something to do with my fondness for this movie. But I will defend it to my death. Come fight me if you think Freddy vs. Jason is a bad movie. I will duel you in the streets. Pistols at dawn.
Hey everybody, it's me, Bobby Duke, the Babadook. I'm a character that Scary Matt thought of when he was very high. Am I funny? I don't know. Why don't you like and subscribe? Because he puts out new horror-related videos every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, this is me, Bobby Duke, and Matt was really high when he came up with this character. Okay, bye.